Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Shake It Up, the podcast. I am Steve Brown, your host and moderator, and today for the third visit, we have back Marcus, who, to refresh your memories, is our patient who is currently undergoing a multi-step deep brain stimulation surgery, easy for me to say, otherwise known as DBS surgery. So, what we're going to give a quick update on today is the third of three. The next will be the big reveal. That'll be in a couple of weeks. Or no, is that this coming week?
I think it's a week from Tuesday.
Okay, cool. We had some, we had hoped to do this a week ago. We had some technical errors, meaning somebody doesn't know their equipment yet. And I won't tell you who. And then just it was finals week. I'm a teacher, school teacher, and so things had to get put off. So here we are with you today. Marcus, how you feeling, man?
Doing well, thanks, Steve. I'm a week and a day out of the third surgery, and for the viewers, I would tell you the third surgery, if you choose to go this route, and Steve can talk more about the different options in a moment, but the third surgery was definitely a little rougher. I have an incision on my head here. I have my hair covering it, but right there you can maybe see it. It's about a 4-inch incision with staples again. If you watch the previous two, I had one here and one here, and now I have one here. But you also get an incision on your chest where they put the device. And so, I would tell people thinking about the surgery or listening, watching this podcast, the third surgery is definitely the rougher of the three. It had me laid up a couple days more. If you watch the previous two, I was pretty back to normal a day or two out of surgery. But on this one, it was probably a good 3 or 4 days before I was starting to get back to normal. But anyways, yeah. No, thanks, Steve, for having me. I mean, it's been a journey to get here. I'll probably someday watch these videos and wonder, what I went through. But as Steve said, a week from Tuesday, I get the programming. So, I'll start to kind of bring it together a week from Tuesday or so when they do that.
The one thing I have never seen you do is, can you show everybody your level of tremor?
Yeah, here's my right hand. My left hand is definitely much worse.
Now, are you
Um,
right-handed or left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Okay.
But there's sort of a long story I can go into later about why my left hand is worse than my right hand.
Well, we can
It,
do
it
we
is
can do that after you get it programmed and stuff. Um, now, I one thing I wanted to do was to be able to turn the device off and show you my tremor. The problem is I have what they call the honeymoon effect, and I'd have to leave it off for anywhere from 1 to 4 days before the tremor would truly return, particularly after having been on since last July. So turning it off and turning it on really is not an option for me. Other people, and Marcus, this may be you, it may return immediately, that type of thing. But I did want everybody to get kind of a conception, because this is where my hands are right now. Now, prior to my surgery, prior to any of the DBS stuff, my hands were easily as bad as Marcus's. Only mine was more the right hand and lesser in the left. If I had to, my go-to hand was the left hand. And I'm assuming, Marcus, in your case, it's your right hand.
So for me, the surgeries and such, it's been, you know, it's been a challenge, getting to this point. So I don't know.
I can easily understand that. We all, like, my right hand is my dominant hand, but a significant part of what I do is done left-handed. Back in my painting days, and using like pastels, things like that, I would very often find myself with two color sticks, you know, drawing in something here and adding a line with my left, that type of thing. So I'm not ambidextrous. I can't write left-handed, but I can certainly eat left-handed if I have to, that type of thing. So I would say for me, everything but writing is right-handed.
Yeah. For different reasons, I've done more with my left. But for me, yeah, the right is still my, I am right-handed when I do things. When I write, when I, just do different activities, eat, I eat with my right hand.
Sure.
Um, so, part of that's why maybe I've delayed having the surgery a little longer is because, my right hand is a little bit less, less of the tremor. So,
Hmm.
I'm able to get by a little bit easier than most. But it's one of those things. It's only going to get worse. So that's part of why I had this surgery when I did is knowing, the older I get, the more difficult it is to go through surgeries, and
Yeah.
so yeah,
Well, and to remind everybody, you're 51, correct?
52, but yeah,
52.
same.
But, and I'm older. Uh, Now, I'll be turning 70 next year. Um, I love it when my kids come up. They'll say, "How old are you, Mr. Brown?" And I'll say, "You tell me, how old do I look?" And all of them now, since the surgery, since my mood is better and everything else, about 60. So I'll take that any day. I was very pleased, but that's just kind of a side effect for me in the surgery. Not everybody experiences the same level of recovery. So I don't want to promise things that I can't deliver on, but it is, it's nice it's great to feel as good as I feel. And I'm saying it, Marcus, because even though you've kind of downplayed, excitement and everything else up to this point, at this point you got to be chomping at the bit, saying, "I, I want to get this thing turned on. I want it over with."
It's odd you say that, but for me, you know, maybe it's because I'm younger. I'm just so busy. I just don't think about it. I really don't. I was telling my wife the other day, and some friends have asked me because I'm going through all these procedures, and they see me with the incisions and such. Um, but I just, I was so busy, I don't think about it, and maybe that's part of denial, or maybe that's part of by design, but um, it's just I'm so busy every day that when I stop and think about it, yeah, I am excited to think about the idea of not having the tremor. And sometimes in the last few weeks, I've thought about something that I want to do, but I can't do because of the tremor. And I think,
Yeah,
is this something I'll be able to do? And those are things, that do come into my daily, thinking about, this surgery and everything. But really, for me, it's just I'm just more thinking about getting better. Like I said, this surgery was a little rougher on me, so I'm more thinking about I want to get back to doing more some of the activities I can't do. You have a lot of restrictions
right.
with the third surgery, and so those are things I'm more thinking about. Being able to do things that I'm not able to do right now because of the surgery. But you're right. I mean, maybe when we do this next session and I've had the programming or whatnot, and I'm able to see what it's like without the tremor, it may be more.
You know,
Well, not maybe, it will be more exciting, I'm
well, I,
sure.
I I agree with you because now that I think back, um, I probably wasn't. I was a little apprehensive. There were a lot of emotions running through me, and I'm going to tell the viewers right now, I'm a fairly high strung individual. I am not Mr. Laid Back. Never have been. But this forced activity, it grated on me, and that's probably why. It, it's one of those cases where you don't know what you don't know. So 6 months from now, you're probably going to look back on this and say, "Oh my God, I'm finding it difficult now to remember life with a tremor."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and people watching this will have different outlooks on this, and some will it'll resonate, some it won't. But for me, with the tremor, I don't think about it in my daily life. I'll think about it periodically during my daily life.
Yeah,
Does it keep me from doing things? Yes. It is something because I was approved for the surgery, that should tell you that I have a bad tremor. Um, but I'm just somebody that maybe I just, if the tremor is bothering me, then I'll find something else to do and I'll just keep myself busy. I just don't, I don't want to think about it because there's nothing I can do, or there's nothing I could do. And now that I've had the surgery, I've done what I could do.
Right.
And so,
Well,
um,
yeah.
for me, I'm curious, what a week from Tuesday or what a week from Thursday does for me.
Well, you're
And,
you're gonna. What I found, it's always the little things that you're able to do all of a sudden. Like this week, I went to my first retirement luncheon for my high school. Why hadn't I gone before? Simple. I couldn't eat in front of other people. My food.
yeah,
You guys would be wearing it if you were at that table, and that was something that I just had to endure. And like this week, had I not had the surgery, I couldn't have gone anyway. Even though, like, if I'd had a beer or something like that, like everybody else was doing, my hands would have settled down a little bit because, as we know, alcohol is the only drug that works with essential tremor. And um, I didn't want to drink because I had two doctor's appointments that I had to. As a matter of fact, the luncheon almost made me late for the first one, but I hit the second one on time. But it's those little things that make your quality of life so much better. And anybody who's afflicted, and needs guidance, once again, you can get a hold of Marcus through me. That's shakeitup.thepodcast at gmail.com. That will be in a crawl down here when we post the video. Um, but I encourage you to not wait. There are other options, non surgical options, I should mention. But Marcus and I got together strictly because we both opted for the surgical option, and that's how we know each other, and how we've kept this thing going. Marcus, I don't want to hold you too long, but I do have one final question for you. What I'd love to do, and you pick the time, is I want to meet with you directly after it's turned on next week, if that's okay with you, and then maybe 2 months out, we can talk about how things have improved. What you're going to find is, oh my God, I forgot I couldn't do that. At least I did in my case.
yeah, yeah, that's no problem. Yeah. I'm doing this for people watching it. You know, I was apprehensive, as Steve's talked about, there are other options, and I weighed those options for a while. And I'm going to answer your question maybe a little longer than thought it, but just trying to tie all these podcasts together. And I'm doing this so people can see, what you're going to go through, doing this surgery. We've talked about there are three options, to doing the surgery. One, it's all done at once. Two, it's done in two surgeries. And in my case, it's done in three surgeries. And I'm just trying to help educate
Right.
people. So when you go to do the surgery, or when you go to meet with the surgeon, you at least have some options that I didn't think about before the surgery,
And
and I can tell you I
neither
did
did
a lot
I.
of research.
I was, and shame on me, frankly. I should have done a lot of homework. I didn't. I trusted my surgeon. I trusted my neurologist to know what was best, and I didn't know that there were. Well, when you add in the type of electrodes that they put in, and stuff and everything else, you've got anywhere from 4 to 6 different options that they can do, and that's assuming that you've been
Yeah,
approved for the surgery.
yeah. I mean, to that point, there are a lot of variables. I did a lot of reading. Talking to the viewers here, and some of this I said before, but I researched this for about 2 or 3 years before I did
Oh
it.
wow!
And I'll be honest, I was very reluctant to do DBS as the option. That was probably my third option I was looking at. And as time went on, and as I read more, and hopefully these videos help people that are, have the same view I did about surgery as the option. Um, I saw that as the third option. I saw ultrasound as the first. I saw, just gene therapy maybe coming into play, gene editing as the second, and then DBS as the third. But what happened is gene therapy is 10 to 20 years out. I've come to realize ultrasound only really, you know, I've talked to people that had it, I've looked at it online. It only really reduces the tremor by about 60 to 70%. And, I think if I were in my 70s and you're watching this, I would probably look at the ultrasound a little closer, just, less invasive, less stress on the body.
Right.
But if you're younger, if you're, less younger than 70, as Steve has pointed out, um, I would probably consider DBS and watch these other two videos and see what the process was like for me. It was not terribly stressful. Probably the most stressful part was spending the night in the hospital. It's just not a pleasant experience. But I would also weigh out, why I'm doing these videos. I go back to the three options. The three surgical options. There's benefits to all three. And just think that through because as Steve said, when you go to meet with the surgeon, you want to have all your questions ready, and also Steve brought up two other good points. One, something I did not do was carefully look at the different devices and what their benefits
Mhm.
are. Um, you know, Both Steve and I did Medtronic. No regrets. It's a good system. It's the original system, but that doesn't mean the other two are bad. They have their benefits as well. So, I would carefully look at the different devices and the options. But I would also meet with your surgeon, and it's my surgeon was very good. I won't give his name, he hasn't given me approval, but he did a very good job. But I would encourage people to get one or two, not one, but certainly two or maybe even three. If you have the financial means, meet with other surgeons to get their opinions. And nothing against my surgeon, I did not do that. I would do surgery with him again. But it just, what I learned after doing it was there are different options to have the surgery. And
Yeah.
there's no, if you're going to have brain surgery, you should probably understand what two different surgeons' opinions are on that procedure. And I can't stress enough, nothing against my surgeon. What he did a good job, but you should probably understand, just get an opinion from different people why they do it.
Right. And I should mention for anybody who didn't listen to the other two parts, or that my mine was an all-in-one surgery. Marcus's is a three-part surgery. The third one is where they install the leads, and then in a second surgery install this and connect everything up. Um, it depends, and it's different flavors of apples. You're not even talking apples to oranges. It's just different flavors of apples that we're talking about. And if you're using a board certified neurosurgeon or something like that, I don't think you can go wrong. I mean, there's always a percentage that can cause, there's always going to be that small percentage of risk in terms of infection and things like that. But it is minimal, and that's the good thing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, to your point, there's always a risk. I mean, it's surgery, and if you're staying in a hospital overnight, there's obviously a risk that they're concerned about, and as they should be. That's probably the biggest part of this is thinking about there's a device inside me, and that's
Yeah.
probably that's probably the strangest part of this has been like coming to realize that there's something, there's wires, and so
Yeah.
but other than that, you know it's it's really a week and a day out. Like the healing has been, I have more mobility.
Good.
I can, I talk in the first video about a speed bump on my head. Well, that's receded, and kind of what Steve said. You don't really feel the wires unless you really, really press to find them. That's, I guess, another interesting call out on this video is in the first surgery, I could feel the wires very pronounced on my head. It was a very bump. It just, you could feel them, and that was kind of awkward for me. Well, now after the third surgery, and after they've unwound them and moved them down my neck and into the device, I don't feel that presence up here like I did before, and that's I'll say that's encouraging for me. That those are the small things that, as I've gone through it, have put me at ease
Good.
more. Is the less physical footprint, if you will, or physical presence of the device. You feel it less as the surgeries go on, and that's been encouraging for me, or a benefit for
Good.
me.
Well, you were talking about the wires down the neck, and it's a 20-second story, but it's very funny because it happened this week. I'm in physical therapy, not for anything related to this, but I've got arthritis in my neck. And so the physical therapist is working on my neck, and he says, "Steve, you've got the tightest tendon that I've ever seen over here." And he's going away. I said, "Put my hand on it." He put my hand on the wire, and I said, I hate to tell you, don't go at that too hard. We don't want to break it. That's a wire from my controlling unit." And he goes, "Oh my God," jumps back. But they all knew when I went in there that I had DBS surgery. They just didn't, you don't consciously think about how it's all connected. It's not Bluetooth. They run a wire. So anyway, Marcus, any final thoughts? I don't want to run this too long.
No, it's okay. I'm sure there'll be some edits, and everybody's going to see a different version than we're showing here now. But which is
Yeah,
good. But no, no, thanks for having me.
my pleasure.
I'm doing this because I wish there was this resource when I was doing the surgery. Because, as I said before, it's a very serious procedure. Anytime you
Mhm.
have brain surgery, and in my case, brain surgery 3 times, um, it's a very big step. And so I would encourage people watching this, people thinking about doing it, you can't over research this. This is, you take it seriously, but also, Steve and I empathize with what some people watching this are going through. I mean, I know what it's like to have trouble drinking, have trouble, or I just don't even really write anymore right now. And so I understand what those things are like and what the trade-off is. And yeah, I mean, I can just say I empathize with whoever's watching, and in a week from Tuesday, as Steve said, I'll see if it was all worth it. And so that's where I'm at
I
right
think you're
now.
going to be pleased with the results. Marcus, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for this third of at least four parts. I want to do a fifth and maybe a sixth. And just remember that if you go through DBS surgery, all those little things that you lost the ability to do, such as writing, they come back, but they don't come back immediately. I had to relearn how to write cursive. And I don't mean uh, literally learn how to make an S and all this other stuff. But I had to retrain the fine muscles in my hands to be able to, like, I can write smaller now than I could 20 years ago. That's how far back my essential tremor goes. So thank you for joining us. Marcus, stick around after I turn the thing off. And everybody, have a great day.